Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Harris, and I'm one of the directors at the Florida Agritourism Association. And we're so glad that you have joined us for this presentation from Stefan Harbonis. He's of the U Farm, and he does a whole bunch of stuff now that he'll tell you about. I wanted to just go over some housekeeping. If everyone could just stay muted, that'll help with the sounds. And if you have any questions, there's the chat at the bottom. If you want to ask some questions, just type them in there. I'm going to monitor that. And then when we can, I'll ask Stefan to address the questions. And now I'd like to introduce Michelle Welch. She owns the Wishing Well Barn and is the chair of our board of directors. Go ahead, Michelle.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today for this webinar. We have been working on some really amazing things with the Florida Agritourism Association. And we just found out that an article was published that kind of let the cat out of the bag for our upcoming inaugural conference. So we're planning our very first conference that will be held this summer from July 9th through July 11th. And we're going to be launching the registration for that very soon. And we hope that all of you can join us in Gainesville at the Hilton Conference Center at the front gate of the University of Florida. We're gonna have some amazing speakers that are going to be there. So look forward to seeing people there. We're gonna open that registration probably in the next couple of weeks, and we hope you guys will all come and join us there. It's gonna be a great conference for current operators and people that maybe want to become an agritourism operator. So lots of valuable educational information and just building connections with other operators who are going to help you be successful in your operation as well. So for today, though, for the webinar, I would like to introduce Stefan and Shelby. They are the operators of the U Farm located in Palm Beach County, Florida. Stefan and Shelby have been agritourism operators since 2016 and have created a destination community farm that has welcomed thousands of families throughout the years. Stefan currently sits on the board of directors for the Florida Agritourism Association as its treasurer and has a passion to help others realize the amazing benefits of agritourism and of this organization. So today we're so excited to have you, Stefan and Shelby, and I'll just kick it over to you now.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. I have the privilege today to sit here with my lovely wife, awesome wife, that we created a business together that hasn't always been easy. And many of you that are on this call today, this webinar, may have challenges that we have had in the past. Some of you may have not even faced any challenges yet and may kind of be getting your feet wet or may be interested in what those next steps look like for you. Today, Shelby and I are just excited to talk about that creative process, why agritourism for us was so important, how it benefited our farm, how we were able to generate the extra income that we needed to be able to just sustain it. So I know many of you that are on here, I see some familiar names. Corinne from Downward Goat, it's so awesome to see you over here. Carl, many of you out there have farms already, and you guys have been in this business. Michelle, the one that just introduced me, has one of the coolest businesses out there in her wedding venue. And today she's going to get a chance to
I can't seem to
a little bit of her business with you guys today. What I want to do first is I want to introduce Shelby. You know, she's been with me from the very beginning on what we've done to be able to build this farm. Hasn't always been easy, but I do want to talk a little bit our farm in the beginning, our journey, and some of our goals that we have had both in the past and the future. But Shelby.
Hi everybody, I'm just happy to be here and be able to sit here and share a little bit with Stefan about some of the creative processes and some of the opportunities that you all will have, whether you have a farm now or whether you're thinking about having a farm in the future.
Yeah. One of the questions that we want to ask is why are we doing this webinar today? What is the the goal in today's webinar. And we kind of broke it up into 4 points. Shelby, you want to talk about some of those points?
Sure. The first part, which is the fun part, is creative process.
Yeah.
So analyzing and thinking about where you're at now and where you want to be in the next 1 year to 5 years. If you already have a farm, what do you do really well at? And what do you think you would like to add to your farm in the future? It could be another aspect of income, another aspect of inviting different demographic of people onto your farm as another opportunity.
Yeah, then the next bullet point is going to be business planning, and we're going to let Michelle drive that one. We have an awesome business plan, something that we've worked very hard with over the years, and it's always kind of adapting. We would challenge you all on this call today, if you don't have a business plan, and maybe start looking at how to get one. And the Agritourism Association has a lot of great resource, whether it's through farms like us, Michelle, Sarah, who's on the call, Lena, a lot of Carl, who's on the call. A lot of us can help guide you along the way if you don't have that business plan fully in place yet, if you're not really sure what to add to that business plan. And I think just a solid webinar on creating a business plan would be a great beneficial webinar for the future. So we're going to touch a little bit on business planning. We're not going to dive too hard into it because we have limited time. And then the next process.
We're also going to talk about the process of qualifying to see where you're at right now. Are you already an agricultural property for residential? Are you already in a commercial business? So just looking at where you're starting and then where you're ultimately going to go, which is to be a part of the Florida Agritourism.
Yeah, that qualifying process is that's part of our journey, and we're going to share some of that journey with you all today on how we qualify to become an agri-tourist destination farm, because it wasn't easy in the very beginning. So we're going to dive into some of those details. And then joining the Florida Agritourism Association. Really, what does that look like? Now, Sarah and Michelle, you guys can vouch. You don't necessarily have to have a farm to be a part of the association. Is that correct? Yes, I've seen heads being shaken. That is absolutely correct. So you can be a part of the association. You can join the association if you have idea that one day maybe you are a farm owner. Maybe it's something that you aspire to maybe to generate a little extra income on your farm, and you want to really start diving more into what this agritourism is. I would highly encourage you guys, even if you're not an operator currently, and welcoming guests to your farm or the public to your farm, still join the association. I think there's a few of you on this call today that are not members, and some of you I invited today too. I would highly encourage you to join the association and check it out, because some of the resource that they provide, especially from some past webinars, were how do you get insurance? In our industry, insurance is really hard to get. How do we overcome some of those insurance challenges? A benefit that the Agritourism Association puts together through webinars like these. And so that's it. So how about we dive right in? We're going to get into our first topic. Earn extra income, get creative, and let's have some fun. I'm going to share with you guys our little slideshow that we had created a little bit ago. This was for another project that we were working on to get others excited by it. But Shelby and I do consulting with farms out there, and we really help take what we've learned in the past 7 years at UFarm and running some of our events in the farm, and really help others dive into how they can properly utilize their farms. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some of the ways that we did it and some of the ways that we think we can help you do it as well. So if you just bear with me here, I'm going to share my screen here. Sarah, can you chime in? If you don't see my screen, just chime in and tell me to slow down, and then I won't start until everybody can see it. Just give me a second here. I'm going to share screen number 2, and I'm going to create this presentation. All right, Sarah, can you tell me, can you see that screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, give me 1 second. Then that just means I shared the wrong screen. Share sound, share. How about now, Sarah?
Now we can see it. We see the Zoom.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, great. Wasn't too bad, Michelle. I know you're a little worried on that one. That was pretty easy. But all right, guys. So developing a sustainable future was our motto for the farm and farm projects. And one thing that we brought in front of one of our farms that we were consulting with is how do you develop a farm to become an agritourist destination? Well, first it starts with actually having a farm. One thing that's really important is you can't really necessarily run agritourist operations unless you're a bona fide farm, unless the county recognizes you as a bona fide agricultural farm. If you guys have some questions about what that means, you can certainly shoot them over in the chat, and Sarah can shout them out to me. This is me and my wife. What is U-Farm? U-Farm is a community family farm. Its mission was to create just an event space for people to be able to come and share the space, share our farm. I'm a hydroponic farmer. I love hydroponic greens. I love growing greens inside. I also love community gardens. I love growing outdoors as well. We have 5 acres on our farm. And how we utilize those 5 acres. Some of you on this call probably have a couple hundred acres, some have 50 acres. We only had 5. So we really had to get really good at how to utilize our 5 acres. So I did hydroponic farming. I grew lettuce. I started growing lettuce inside my garage. I took that months of self-taught, I guess self-taught, right? Kind of. Lots of YouTube videos. A lot of learning on the side. I was completely self-taught, and I did it in my garage. I started doing aquaponics in the garage, in my home. We started doing lettuce. I started giving lettuce to my neighbors, and I was so excited. I tell the story all the time. I was so excited that I grew lettuce that was about 5 feet tall, thinking that I was a stud for growing 5 foot tall lettuce, but the lettuce sucked. It was awful. It was a bitter mess. My neighbors would eat it, said, "Oh yeah, Stefan, that's great." And not knowing at the time that, you don't want to grow lettuce that large. I fine-tuned it a little bit, and I really started understanding how to grow lettuce indoors, how to grow it in a controlled environment, and then started finding that indoor farming was actually really cool because everything that would happen indoors was not affected by the climate. Hurricanes, overwater, underwater, too much sun, not enough sun. I was able to control it. Now that's just me. I'm not saying that all you guys have to be a hydroponic farmer, but I outgrew my garage. I needed more space. And so I went to look for land. We bought land in Loxahatchee, Florida, right outside of Palm Beach County, Florida. And we created on that land a hydroponic warehouse. We got animals, we got chickens, had no idea what I was doing with chickens, had no idea what we were doing with the horses. We just started buying animals. We started buying. Yeah, rescuing. Yeah, that's a better term. We were rescuing them because we got a lot of animals that some of our horses weren't that great looking. They were little special needs. Yeah. So yeah, we brought in rescued animals, and then we started looking at more of the mission. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but the mission of U-Farm. What was the mission of our farm? Was it just growing greens and lettuce in a hydroponic sense? Or was it something else, or was it a combination of both? And so we really went and started looking at what the overall picture of the farm was. Honestly, growing greens inside a warehouse and having community gardens just didn't cut it financially for us. And this is where agritourism came in. We had no idea what agritourism was. I had no idea how to incorporate it into my business. I had no idea how to do seasonal events and markets, as you can kind of see here. But I'm going to go to this next slide. What is that for us? What did that look like for us? In the beginning stages of buying the farm, I thought I could do absolutely anything on my farm. I thought I could build. I thought I could create. I thought I could just say, yeah, you know what? I want to be a farm and I want to have people over to it to welcome them. The county of Palm Beach County said, no, that's not a great idea. You can't do that. And I started getting fined significantly from the county and being told to stop through code enforcement. It was a really scary time for us when we kind of looked at ourselves and it's like, why did we do what we did? Why did we buy this place? Did we make a mistake? It was the help of the Agritourism Association that really helped educate us, like we're doing here today, on how to take our farm that we had and take it to the next stage. Luckily, before I decided to do agritourism, we did do the indoor farming, we did do the outdoor farming, we did have the animals. We were a bona fide farm. We only became a bona fide farm, not because we want to become an agritourist operator, because we wanted to save money on taxes. I didn't want to spend all that money on taxes. And so we went unknowingly to get the bona fide exemption on our farm. And that was our saving grace right there. Because without that exemption, even though the county was still trying to fine us on some of these details that we did, the fencing that we put up, signs that we put up, buildings that we put up, the county was very quickly told that what we did was completely legitimate under the agritourism rule. And some of you may understand that, some of you may not on this call. And we're going to kind of dive into what that looks like. And if you have questions on that, please, by all means, just shout them out over to Sarah, and I'll try to answer them for you. What is agritourism? Agritourism is commercial activity without the commercial label. Right? Agritourism is simple. It's a place that we build that primarily focuses on agriculture and education, and we welcome people to it. And that's as simple as it gets. You build as creative as you possibly want. We at U Farm, we decided, looking at right here is one of my wedding barns, or wedding pavilions, I would call it. We started getting creative with some Christmas on the farm stuff. The centerpieces of our farm, this is our center of our farm. We call this the Blessing Well. It's not a very large farm, again, but we try to make sure that all the spaces on the farm work together. This is an overall view of what our farm currently looks like. We are, again, 5-acre farm. We have many buildings. The buildings over down to the left over here, these are my hydroponic buildings and our warehouse space. Shelby, this is actually an older picture. We have another building that we're missing. We have another building over to the south, but this is one of our very first events that we have run on the farm. And I believe this was going towards one of our, what events do you think this was?
This is on the farm, maybe.
You think so?
Just a quick reminder too, as we're going through each of the pictures, all of the structures that we have are, the original intent is for farming.
Yeah.
So like that first pole barn was used for downward goat. So goat yoga was hosted underneath there, as well as having our horses and our camps to teach about caring for horses underneath that barn, as well as parking the tractor. So all of the structures that you see around the outside are either for farming indoors or for hosting animals, tractors, other things that we care for.
That's such a great point, because a lot of you all may say, well, I want to build a barn specifically for weddings. Not advisable. You want to build a barn specifically for your primary use of agriculture and what you're using that barn for. Now, should you decide to move your tractors out, should you decide to move certain things out of the way to be able to accommodate the public within that barn for a wedding, you have all the right to be able to do that under agritourism. There are some operators that will decide, well, I want the primary use of this barn facility that I'm building for my farm to be just for weddings. That's okay too, but then at that point you have to look at insurances and you have to look at more of the permits and what your counting laws look like. I think Michelle, you're going to be able to answer that one really, really well when it starts to get over to your business plan, because she has an amazing wedding barn that she created. Some of the things that we got creative in the past was financials, right? So we were looking at different ways, creativity wise, to create an additional revenue stream. One way that we decided to do it was grow sunflowers and zinnias. Our sunflower and zinnia patch, these are actually my kids in these pictures here, except one of them. But these fields that we would grow were a significant U-pick revenue stream for us. Sunflowers take a relatively short period to grow. They don't last very long. But as soon as people know that there's sunflowers growing on my farm, social media starts blowing up. We're going to start talking. We'll talk a little bit about your planning on how you advertise your stuff. We decided to use a lot on social media. But sunflowers and the zinnia patches were a big one for us, babe, right?
It was a lot of fun. It was really nice for photographers too to be able to come out and showcase not only their work but also the farm as well. So it was really a great opportunity all around.
Now, I'd like for everybody to understand that this is not an advertising stuff for me, because many of you are not even in my area. This is a creative time. I'm sharing the things that we have done in the past, and I'm also going to share the things that we're going to do in the future, because we have a big future ahead of us. and some really cool plans that we have for the future. But these are creative times for you to start thinking about what you could possibly do at your farm. And ask those questions. And I would challenge you guys to ask some of the questions. If you have a question of some of the pictures that I'm going to show up here, definitely ask them. But revenue stream was photographers. Photographers will come out and pay us money just to be able to take pictures and bring their own clients over to the farm to be able to take those pictures. This was another one over here. This is our pumpkin patch. Pumpkin patches were a big one for us. Finding pumpkins to be able to bring over to the farm hasn't always been easy. Down here in South Florida, where we're from, you can't really grow pumpkins, well at least. So we had to bring them in from the north. Logistics, getting them in, getting them set up, selling them. It's a big financial commitment and a learning curve that we had to learn along the way. But Shelby and I overcame a lot of those learning curves through trial and error. And there was a lot of error, right?
It's a fun process. So hosting events in general throughout the year, about 4 times a year, especially, we did the pumpkin patch in the fall. We like that warm northern feel, like the Hallmark feel. So you guys can be as elaborate or as quaint as you want. We would also offer for local vendors that we believed in their products and we knew that we're offering something great to the community. We would invite them out to be a vendor at our property as well. And then leading into Christmas on the farm was a whole other opportunity that you can be, again, as elaborate as you want. You can bring in Christmas trees. You could just host an event where you, again, allow for people to come and walk the farm, interact with the animals, do creative games.
Another really good point. I would challenge you guys to get to know your local vendors, the local people, because the locals around you need your support. They needed us. They needed our farm to be able to have a space to be able to sell their products, and we offered it. We were able to offer that through agritourism.
I think another thing is that you learn so much from the people around you too. Like we learned so much from Corinne with Downward Goat. She taught us so much information about goats and the caring of goats and just this fun creative process with them. So the people around you within agritourism and within your community just add so much to what you're doing, as well as you're able to pour into them, especially new businesses.
Many of you are farm operators, so you guys know what goat yoga is. Right? Probably not. Or some of you are probably shaking your head, what in the heck is goat yoga? Well, goat yoga, there is an operator here on this call who does goat yoga. They brought goat yoga over the farm. They did it well. They're one of the best in the area. They since moved up to, I think, the Ocala, Gainesville area. And they have a beautiful farm up there. But for us, it was a great opportunity, again, to welcome a whole different demographic of people to experience goat yoga. And it was widely popular. So not only did we do goat yoga, but guess who was able to out there be able to pick farm fresh eggs and make omelets for the people who were experiencing goat yoga. Maybe some mimosas out there, fresh created omelet with some of the veggies that were done in our garden, maybe some of the fresh microgreens inside our hydroponic warehouse. And we were able to do mimosas, omelets, and goat yoga on the farm. Another revenue stream that you all can possibly consider.
So it's the farm to table concept too, which you can host as much or as little throughout the year, but it is a very good added benefit to do at your location.
Yeah, Shelby mentioned Christmas on the farm a little bit. This is one of our Christmas on the farm advertisements. Again, Shelby and I consult on some of these things on how we can advertise and better get a following on your farm. I think, again, trial and error, we learned what works and what doesn't from an advertising standpoint, what words to put in there to get people really excited to be able to come to your farms. This is 2021. This is our Christmas on a Farm event. Even though we've had some COVID going on and maybe the ends of COVID, this is probably one of the most fun Christmas on the Farm events that we've had. We take our farm, we light it up, and we sell tickets for people to be able to come to the farm and just enjoy being out there, seeing the lights. We did have a concert out there that year. We have bonfires going on. We have ice cream, s'mores. It's just an awesome feel. It's an awesome feel to be able to get people out there, fake snow. Yes, we do run hay rides on the farm. That's a hay ride. It's one of my first hay rides that I've ever built. So for me, being creative, I had to just take a trailer. I built the hay ride and I put some lights on it and maybe sometimes I put some music on there and have the party hay ride going on. But these are one of the first times that we had. This isn't just, this isn't just something that we said, let's do hay rides. I had to actually build it for the first time, right?
Hay rides are amazing. They're also hard to cover, so waivers go a long way.
Yeah.
Definitely want to work on your waivers.
kind of where I was getting at.
Yeah. But hay rides are a great family experience. It's great for all ages. You just want to make sure it's safe, that your lot is ready for that. And it definitely adds a nice, fun atmosphere for families to come out of all ages and just enjoy.
Yeah, we don't want to brush past the liabilities and the waivers. For us, we do have liability waivers, insurance and waivers and liability stuff. That's again another webinar. But if you guys have a question on that, please ask it, because that is extremely important for us. Before people even step foot on the farm, every single customer has an indemnity liability waiver signed, all of which would be placed on our website. They would sign it. We would have our check-in staff in the beginning of the gates check in everybody. They would make sure that those liability waivers were signed, make sure that their tickets were purchased and when they walk in. So
and these are all things that you can start to work on before you're even operational and open to the public. So it's a good place to start there too.
Absolutely. One of our warehouses that we just kind of converted. So we moved the stuff out of the way, the tractors out of the way, and cleaned it up. And this was Santa Claus's warehouse one year. It hasn't been like that every single year, but we had Santa Claus come in, people come in, grab their hot chocolate inside this warehouse. We had snowfall inside here. Thousands of people would show up to this particular event, and this was right before this day. And this was our photo op area with Mrs. and Mr. Claus. Vintage barn sale days, guys, another one of our favorite events. Again, getting creative for you guys to start thinking of some of the things that you can do on your farm. This is our creative segment of this webinar. So thinking about different income streams for you and your farm. For us, it was revolved around creating a vintage market day. Let me see if I can get back here real quick. Now I'm going to press play. Sarah, tell me if you can't hear the sound, but this is a video of one of our very first vintage days. This is probably one of more successful times on the farm. All right, guys, I hate to cut that short. I don't want to, I'm just getting time. But as you can see in a lot of those different areas of the farm, we did incorporate our spaces and try to incorporate them well, including our centers pavilion where we had our live entertainment as well. We do farm dinners at the farm. Some of you all on this call may do farm dinners or may want to do a farm dinner. What does that mean? Well, for us, we would bring in a master chef. He would take some of our products that we would have on the farm. He would utilize those products. We would sell tickets for those dinners. I'm not going to play the full video, but this is right here is Master Chef Chris Paul. This was one of our very first farm dinners that we had at U Farm, and I would challenge you guys to maybe consider something like that. That is a really old one, isn't it? That's before our farm was.
Hey, welcome to Taste and See. We're so glad that you are here tonight. I am so happy that you get the opportunity to dive at this beautiful farm that we're at. So listen, what tonight I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tickle, right, all your senses, the smells, the taste, the surroundings, everything. So you better hang on, grab your fork and your knife, because we're gonna have some fun.
That's just an awesome little creative way that we're able to generate, again, revenue. We talk about this creative session because it's all about revenue on your farm, additional income sources on your farm. Education, farm camps at our farm were a big one for us. In the summertime where we can't really grow too much or really have anything out by us because of the weather and the mosquitoes, we run a morning into the afternoon farm camp. Farm camp for us is an amazing opportunity to not only welcome children to the farm and teach them about agriculture, but we just went so much further than that. We taught them about singing and dancing and fun and driving tractors, having goats on their back. Come on, Corinne, that's some homage to you and goat yoga. Just actually sitting and just being for once, taking off their shoes, being on their bare feet, and just being kids on a farm, right? And so I think we're losing that culture. And here in South Florida, not enough people understand what that means, is to be able to go and run on the farm. Shelby and I are from Pennsylvania. We kind of know and understand what that means. And so we try to bring as much of the northern feel to South Florida as we can in this tropical environment. But farm camp was a huge income source for us and highly would recommend it. If there's someone out there on this call and you say, hey, you know what, I think I can really facilitate a great farm camp, I would encourage that income stream, which is wildly successful.
The part about farm camp and like all the things that we do out of the farm is to really instill value into people and to lift up the next generation, get them excited about innovation, about being able to work tractors and grow things and learn how to really dive deeper and get excited about what's to come. Being able to like be sustainable and to grow their own food and know what kind of nutrients it adds in your body when you eat them.
And this is how you gain trust within your community, right? You start welcoming people, and that's, I shared in the beginning what our mission was. Our mission was to just welcome people to our space just as they are, no matter where they're at. So yeah, we did some sensory stuff. We did some special needs stuff. We did some education with our beehives, right? So we got some kid bee suits. Some of them look like kid bee suits. This one looks too large, so I'm not kid. But we put them in front of a live beehive. We let them dive in and understand what the internals of a beehive was. We let them have an experience for the very first time sometimes, just laying on a horse in a free way, right? And it, for us, I think that was a really impactful thing for us. I don't think a lot of these children, a lot of people who step foot on the farm really truly understand how much it meant for us. And I would challenge you all with that today too. Pick things that just mean something to you, something that you love, something that you love to do, and it just shines in the craft that you be able to provide for your community. And that's kind of what it's all about.
And it's like farm owners or business owners, recognizing your strengths and your weaknesses. So if you have a strength in a certain area, it is a strength to go out and resource someone who is good in an area that you're not.
Yeah.
So to collaborate with other people or hire people on that are going to be able to add value to your business, where maybe we know as farmers, it can be a lot of hard work and take a lot of time. So to outsource and to bring other people in that can fulfill in those areas that are kind of weak is actually a really beautiful thing and allows you to grow faster than you would have on your own.
That's a really good point. So I'm going to brush past this real quick and talk a little bit about hydroponic and aquaculture. This is what we decided to do on the farm. I have to be a farm first before I can be an agriturist. This is some of the greens that we grew. So I'm not lying when I say that I was a farmer. We grew a lot of greens inside. And when I use the word, it is in past tense, we grew. Right now, currently, U-Farm is in the process of revamping. Shelby and I are transitioning into a new season of U-Farm. Where we did sell the land, but we didn't sell it to a developer. We sold it to someone who believes in what we have built the past 7 years. And so what has happened and transpired there, he might be on the call today too, is he's given us complete ability to continue U-Farm with now different
Yeah, we're doing
amenities,
a reset.
right?
Yeah. So where you start to see that maybe a certain area isn't functioning the way you want it to, or it's exerting more energy than it should in a specific area, but you still believe in it, taking a reset. So we believed in our reset this past year of restructuring and redoing the farm. So that way it serves a much greater purpose.
And don't be afraid to sit back and reevaluate where you stand, especially financially. You're gonna have so many different areas, so many different ways that we generate income, but there's gonna be some ways that you may see, well, it's not really working so well. don't be afraid to kind of step back and say, well, how can I reevaluate this? How can I maybe go to the Agritourism Association and get some advice? How can I reach out to somebody like Shelby and I and get some advice on what that next steps looks like? I guarantee you on this call and within the association, somebody has already done it and someone can already tell you what works and doesn't work. And so, and before you just dive in and spend a lot of money, work on that business plan, which Michelle is going to share with you guys in a minute. And just kind of look and see where your niche is, what you can provide for your community. So just quick pictures of the inside of my hydroponic warehouse. I'm not going to go through all these pictures here. I do want to share something with you guys, which for me is pretty important. This is one of our main structures here. I'll bring this over to the screen. Not main structures, but this is one of our photos that I created this photo as an example for today's presentation because I would like to be able to just stress the importance of creating your spaces on your property. Again, I have 5 acres. I have a little square box. Some of you have a lot more or less, but define your space on your property, on your farm, especially in the creative process of building your business plan. Before you decide I want to do weddings, before you decide I want to do flowers or farm camp, start defining some of those spaces, number them. For us, it was a lot easier for me to start and number and start labeling our spaces. I have here about 19 spaces. I probably could have about 20 spaces. And then once I number those spaces and label them, I can really start to decide what I want to invest in. Where do I want to put some money? How do I want to grow that particular area? And maybe have a strategic business plan or a plan for each one of those spaces.
Yeah, I think it's really important too. Like some of these things were put on here before looking at it from an aerial. So if any of you are like things done, you know, straight and organized, it's very nice to look at it from an aerial first, just from the ground.
You have to elaborate on that, because if you look at my site plan, when we first bought the farm, I said, hey, let's put up buildings, let's put up fencing. The site plan, when we got it professionally done, is all over the place.
So that was
She's
one
OCD.
from a perspective before you start implementing some of your structures.
Yeah.
And 2, on a farm, on a working farm, you really want all the areas to serve a purpose, and it all works full circle with another. So the animals help to complement your compost, which helps to complement your garden. So start to think about how all the different spaces and ways you use your farm all work together full circle.
Yeah, I can share some of that with you guys too. I think Sarah was asking about sharing the presentation. Absolutely, I can share that. And if you guys want, I can get that over to you guys. Another thing that I like for us is to look at what our financials look like. These are, what's up? Did I have the wrong one? I think that's the right one. Yeah, this is the right one. This is sample. So I put a sample up here. I don't have exact numbers, so don't quote me on any of these numbers. These are just kind of fluffed up numbers. But the first thing on this cash flow that you're going to notice is you're going to look at your first set of lines. That's going to be all the different things that you want to do to be able to generate income, whether it's farm leases. For us, we have certain ways that we lease out the farm, whether it's through a food truck, whether it's through equine, right? Agriculture, produce sales, some of the things that you may produce on your farm, put that here. Now, I have 5,000 all the way across on produce sales. Some of your produce sales may be different in March as they would be in October. And what starts to happen here is you start to look at your entire year from a financial. You start to be able to see the big picture of what your year looks like and what you should tailor more into, or what you should tailor back on. But this is a great creative process and way to be able to include all of your profit centers and then list out every single one of your expenses on your farm. If you don't have a cash flow statement, I would highly recommend doing that sooner than later, and really start diving into what some of those new income sources look like and what your current income source is looking like and what they're doing to your bottom line. I'm just about done here. I'm going to start getting ready to hand it over to Sarah. I'm sorry, to Michelle. And then I think, Michelle, whenever you're done, I can end it for you. But Michelle, everybody, she's with Wishing Well Barn. She has an amazing venue over there. She's our director for the Agritourism Association, and I'm going to let you kick it off and see what.
Okay. Before I get started, I'd like to address a few questions that are in our chat. Teresa Holloway was asking about what do I need to be a bona fide farm with my county? So different counties call it different things, but it's basically an agricultural exemption for property taxes. And that's from having, different counties require different things. I'm in Hillsborough County. There is a form that you have to fill out at the property tax office. The Hillsborough County property tax assessor for us is here in Plant City. And there's a form that you fill out, and you have to show gross receipts for the sale of agricultural product. So in our case, it is cattle. So we have a cattle ranch, and then we also have a blueberry farm. And it's very important that you understand that you cannot be an agritourism operator unless you have that property tax exemption for agriculture on your property. And that makes you a bona fide agricultural operator. So that's so important. That is, the law states clearly that you have to be a bona fide agritourism operator. In order to be bona fide, you have to have green belt or agricultural exemption on your property. And then the county cannot come back and take away your ag exemption when you start doing agritourism operations. And I know that that's an issue throughout the state where that has actually happened, and it's something that we do need to address on a county by county basis. So another question from Trudy asks, what amount of income from farming qualifies someone as a legitimate farmer? And that's kind of a big joke in the agriculture industry. We're not known for making a whole lot of money. So, you know, you can lose money on your farm every single year and still be a legitimate farmer. You know, we take cattle to the market and we sell at the cattle auction. We'll sell a cow, for example, for $1.25 a pound on the hoof. It costs us $2.25 a pound to grow that steer, and then you go to Publix and buy that beef for $12 a pound. So who's the fool in that case? That would be me. Raise your hand. So, but you know, to be a legitimate farmer, you have to have receipts for the sale of agricultural products, whatever that product might be.
Can I elaborate on that, Michelle, real quick?
Of course, go ahead.
So it was a really good point with the exemption and being bona fide. Actually, you have to be approved, but there's a time frame of when you can get approved, right? And so here for us, I believe it was March 31st or March 1st. It was March 1st. Well, we had to have our application in. Now, the new owner, the reason why I'm interjecting, because the new owner of the land that bought the farm wants to continue the agricultural exemption and bona fide farm. Now, because I sold the land to the new owner, that doesn't just automatically carry over to the new owner, right? And so he had to reapply for that exemption. U-Farm had to prove through lease that we were continuing the operation as a farm operation out there. If he gets approved, because he got his application in before the 1st of March, then he would be able to carry over his exemption into this year. If he would have missed the March 1st deadline, so if he would have missed that March 1st deadline, he would have had to wait to a whole nother year before becoming or reapplying for that bona fide exemption all over again. But just because you apply doesn't mean that you have the exemption. You actually have to follow the process. The Department of Agriculture came out to our farm to do the inspection when we got our exemption. So thanks, Michelle.
Okay, very good. So I don't see any other questions at this point. One person did have a question about whether or not this PowerPoint presentation would be accessible later. And this webinar is being recorded and will be available, I'm assuming, on our Facebook page, right, Sarah?
And I posted on our YouTube account as well.
Very good. Okay, beautiful. So one of the questions today was, or one of the goals of today was to talk about a business plan. And I do not have the technical skill yet. I'm going to learn it.
You got this.
Stefan is going to teach me, but I do have my business plan. And I want to let you know that if anybody would like it, all you have to do is email me and I will be glad to share my business plan with anybody that wants it. But I want to tell you a little story about how we got started. So back in 2012, it was actually before the agritourism law had been put in place. And I wanted to have a wedding for my son on this property. I wanted to have a wedding reception. I went to the county. The county said, no, you cannot have a wedding on your family farm. You can only get married at two places, and that is a church or a hotel, commercial property. Okay, they said no. And so, we went through the whole process. I ended up getting connected with Lisa Ard, one of our founding members, who, God bless her, she's moved on to other greener pastures, but we're so thankful for her and Sarah and Lena and all of the people that were key in getting this passed. Jacob Rayburn, Neil Cumby, Senator Kelly Stargell, so many people we all worked together to make this happen. But back in 2012, I did some research. Like once we had our wedding, let's move on down the road. We had our wedding for my son. And then I had a family that wanted to rent my property. Things went out on Facebook and they saw it and they said, oh, that's pretty. I want to have my wedding there too. So then I went to Hillsborough County and said, I want to do this. And of course they shut me down and said, no. But I started doing research on it and I Googled business plan. And I literally downloaded a business plan from the interwebs. And this is what I ended up with. So I have a business plan. It starts with a mission statement. And just like Stefan was sharing with you, you need to think, what can I do? What is the mission of your agritourism operation? And there's so many great things out there. Stefan, you were amazing today. I got some great ideas from what you shared. So thank you so much for sharing that. But we came up with a mission statement and we wanted to run an effective cattle ranch. We wanted to increase our herd and we also wanted to invite the public onto our farm. That was our mission statement back then. And then we came up with an executive summary. What is our product? We did market segments. So this was all literally downloaded from the internet. What are our business goals? We have that. And then company management and roles, plan of operation. One of the things that I did from the very beginning is I'm a mom. And I'm a mom of 5 boys. So I know that people can get hurt doing stuff on the farm. We've had everything you can imagine. And I was concerned about that. So I wanted to think about access. I ended up calling our Hillsborough County Fire Department. That's who we have access to. I invited them to my farm and I said, hey, tell me what I need to do to make sure people are safe on this farm. And they told me what I needed to do. And, you have to have walkways, you have, ADA compliance. We're not telling you have to do this, but the very first time that a person with special needs comes onto your property and they can't get into your restroom, they can file a complaint. The fine is $14,000. And I said, oh, whoa, that's a lot. So ADA compliance is a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. So I told them what could be a problem. I had to have an ADA compliant bathroom. I had to have access, people with, wheelchair access. I needed to make sure that every place that they were going to visit on my farm, they could get to safely. Walkways, access to bathrooms, all of that, handlebars on steps. If you have steps, you better have a ramp. If you have steps into a room, you also have to have a ramp because they could say, oh, I couldn't see my granddaughter in her beautiful wedding gown. So, things like that: animal control, biosecurity, lighting, water features, fire prevention, food safety, operation of machinery, recreational activities. All of this was addressed in my business plan. Transportation of employees and customers, and a big part of that was insurance. I cannot tell you strongly enough how important it is that you have a liability policy on your business. And that is so important. Also, I recommend that you do either an LLC or an S corporation to further remove your property from access to a lawsuit. So, get with a lawyer, definitely have a contract for people to sign if they're going to do a whole farm rental, which is what we do. Even in my business plan, I've got noise nuisances. I address that from the very beginning. We use a handheld decibel device. And we've been in business for 11 years now. So we've learned a lot over those 11 years about how important it is to be a good neighbor. The size of your farm and how close your neighbors are to you can significantly impact what you do. And so I highly recommend that you get a decibel meter. There are some great apps available online that you can use. And I highly recommend that you be a good neighbor, because that can shut your business down very quickly. We also addressed weather-related emergencies, natural disasters, all of those things. Responding to injuries and medical emergencies. This was something that we addressed from the very beginning. We had Hillsborough County on speed dial. I have staff that work for me that are CPR trained. I actually have a CNA that works for me. And we still have not done it yet, but I have it in my business plan that we need to purchase an AED device. Agritourism warning signs. So part of the law that we absolutely cannot neglect is that it is required that you have an agritourism operation sign. You have to have it at the entrance to your farm, and then you also have to have it at the entrance of any of the agritourism operations that you have on your farm. So for example, let's say you have a horse paddock, you have a cattle paddock, you have a blueberry. At the entrance of any of these agritourism activities, you have to have this sign. There are specific regulations that are required. For example, the color of the signage, the size of the letters is critical, that you have exactly the right signs. My signs are purchased through the Florida Agritourism Association, and we have made sure that we have the correct signs. Liability insurance. So we have an overall policy that covers my entire farm. I have a farm policy. So for farm activities, then I also have a liability policy for the business. And then thank you so much for sharing that, Sarah. This is the sign that is required. There's no doubt about it. You have to have this sign at the entrance of your property, as well as the entrance of any agritourism activity on your farm. Thank you for sharing that. So if you have alcohol being served on your property, we do not encourage you to get a liquor license, but some people have gone that route. We are covered if you're not charging money for alcohol. The people that are leasing your farm for the day can share alcohol with their guest with no money exchanged. That's important because of the laws, but the social host law would cover that type of activity. Even though we have that and we have our signs up, I still have a liquor liability policy that covers my family farm. And I also encourage our visitors who lease the farm for the day to get a liquor liability policy. That's where things can happen, people making poor decisions because their decision-making faculties have been impaired by alcohol. So we have we are covered. We are covered and covered and covered. I have a $2 million policy on my farm, and I highly encourage you to do so as well. So beyond that, we've covered as much as we could. I will be glad to share my business plan with anybody that wants it. Just email me at wishingwellbarn@gmail.com. What if you charge
Also,
for
Michelle,
the
I'll just interrupt. I'm happy to share the recording once it's posted. And excuse me, if you want to email me the documents, I can include that as well. And I'll email all of it to all the participants today.
Okay, beautiful. A question from Robert Underbrink. What if you charge for the meal and it includes alcohol? Well, then there are specific laws that cover the sale of alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, ATF. If you're charging money for alcohol, even if it's included in a meal, you are charging money for alcohol, you have to have a liquor license. You'll go to jail. They'll build a new room for you under the jail for you. So don't do it. So sales tax. Bruce, excellent question. So I did reach out to what is it, DBPR, Sarah, that handles sales tax. We do a whole day farm rental. So they are doing a lease on a farm. There's a contract that states they have access to the farm and all of its amenities for the day. And so that is sales tax exempt. If you do start charging per item, you do have to charge sales tax, and then you have to pay that sales tax to the state.
If you, to Bruce and anyone else interested, we actually did a webinar on taxes. It's also found on our YouTube page.
So Bruce, just to further clarify, I'm not saying that you shouldn't charge sales tax. I'm just saying that if you charge it, you also have to pay it to the state. So you would have to register for an FEIN with a sales tax ID, and then you have to report that. You can do it monthly or quarterly. So there are some advantages of doing it that way. You definitely save money when you're buying products if they are for resale. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. I'm just saying that that's not how we do it here at my farm. Okay, any other questions? I think we're coming to a close. Sarah, what's our next webinar?
I think we're planning on one in April. So we'll be sharing that information when it becomes scheduled. So,
okay, and I'll be sharing my business plan with Sarah so that she can share that out as well. So thank you everyone who attended today. We had 32 participants, which is fantastic. And once we post this, we're sure that lots of other people will get to see it. Just a quick reminder that we are having our very first conference this summer in July. It will be, we're having a dinner reception on July 9th. It's going to be a great networking opportunity. We hope everybody will bring lots of business cards to share. And it's a great way to meet other people that maybe are doing what you're thinking that you want to do, or maybe they're doing it well and you want to learn from them. And it's just a great networking opportunity. And then the next day on July 10th, we're going to have a whole day of educational opportunities. We're having property appraisers, we're having fire marshal, lots of people that have great information. There will be some business consultants and insurance people, lawyers, so many, all of the key people that you need to have access to if you're thinking about having an agritourism operation, and lots of operators who've been doing it for a very long time who want to help you become more profitable on your farm and making every acre count and giving people a place to play. So we hope that everybody will come to that. Registration will be opening in the next couple of weeks. We'll be posting that on our Facebook page, and we'll also be sending out an email to all of our current membership. So we hope that if you haven't joined yet, there will be a discount for people that are members of the Florida Agritourism Association, and we hope you guys will join. All right, Sarah, anything to close up?
I think that's it. Lena, I know Lena Juarez is with us. She's our executive director. Did you want to say anything, Lena?
Just wanted to thank everybody for being on the call. The Florida Agritourism Association is working for you. We're staying strong, and we really, really appreciate your participation today. And thank you, Stefan and Michelle, our very amazing board members, for putting on this wonderful webinar.
Yes, thank you so much, Stefan and Shelby and Michelle.
You guys are awesome. You're welcome. And Shelby and I, we put our contact up there. I know that a lot of information went at you guys all at once, and probably there's so many more questions. We're available, so just don't hesitate to reach us and call and see how we can come alongside of you and help.
Okay, great. And look for an email probably tomorrow after I download and post the video. I'll include all the information, including how to join the association and how to reach out to Stefan. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.